This video is made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details. Hey everyone, John Rairdin here for Nintendo World Report TV. Monster Hunter Rise arrives on Switch later this week, and brings the gameplay innovations of Monster Hunter World to a mobile platform. On a technical front, Capcom's RE engine makes its most ambitious appearance on Switch yet, having previously powered 2D titles such as Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection and Capcom Arcade Stadium. The engine has also powered the most recent Resident Evil and Devil May Cry games on more powerful platforms, but its full viability on Switch has remained a mystery until now. This is the first time an original Monster Hunter title has released on a Nintendo home console since Monster Hunter Tri released on Wii in 2009 or 2010 outside of Japan. Since then, both the Wii U and Switch have only received enhanced ports of 3DS Monster Hunter titles. So the question on my mind is, on a technical level, what exactly is Monster Hunter Rise? Is the RE engine scalable enough to deliver the full modern Monster Hunter experience on the go? Or is this more in line with the Monster Hunter games we've already seen on Wii U and Switch? For our Switch head-to-head, we'll pit Rise against the previous Monster Hunter game to release on the system, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which is an HD version of Monster Hunter Generations for the Nintendo 3DS. Now, these games obviously don't share any one-to-one environments, but there is some crossover in monsters. Specifically, Mizutsune appears in both, so let's start there. Now, before we get to the monster, let's talk about the image itself. From a straight numbers perspective, Generations Ultimate is turning in a full 1920 by 1080 resolution when played docked, while Monster Hunter Rise runs at around 1280 by 720. Both games target 30 frames per second. While yes, Generations Ultimate is running at a higher resolution, this is to be expected, as aside from a few texture and lighting updates, this is still essentially a game built to run on a 3DS. It isn't exactly surprising that the Switch can boost it to a full native resolution. Rise, meanwhile, gets a lower pixel count, but in exchange is sporting materials a full generational leap ahead of Generations Ultimate. The water features real-time screen space reflections, and the surface of the monster itself appears much more natural. The materials give off the appearance of subsurface scattering, implying a semi-translucency to the creature's skin. Areas not in direct light still benefit from diffused light and light from the area around it. Meanwhile, Generations Ultimate looks very harsh in comparison. Shadows also add to this, with Rise featuring soft shadows that match the lighting of the scene, rather than the sharp-edged dark shadows of Generations. While Mizutsune itself doesn't appear in Monster Hunter World, the general appearance of that title matches much more closely with Monster Hunter Rise. Even the color grading used on the image lines up well with the appearance of World. Essentially, you'll rarely see the color black in either title, with those dark hues being subtly mapped to a dark blue or dark purple. It gives the image an almost filmic appearance and lends the image a sense of intentionality in its design. While the resolution gap here is even more severe, with Monster Hunter World rendering at a full 4K, the end result is, all things considered, still remarkably similar. Once again, we don't have like-for-like environments, but that doesn't mean we don't have points of comparison. As mentioned earlier, water features real-time screen space reflections. Foliage, though generally thinner in Rise, still reacts to the player moving through it. Dynamic lights illuminate nearby objects, and bounce light from the environment lends to the general color tone of a scene. While of course all of this is significantly pared back in comparison to World, presentation remains much closer to World than to previous entries despite the difference in performance profiles. Switching back over to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate really drives this point home. Here the world feels static, with a very low-resolution cube map for water reflections and 2D elements plainly visible along the edge of the limited environment. This is another point worth making, is that Rise is not only turning out an image that is visually comparable to World, but is doing so with the same unified levels that made World so popular. No loading screen between sub-environments, just a large, seamless level. From a technical standpoint, it's hard to see Monster Hunter Rise as anything other than an absolute victory. The degree to which it can hold its own against Monster Hunter World and how far ahead it feels in comparison to Generations Ultimate is nothing short of incredible. If you're curious about the game beyond its technical performance, check out our full review by Donald Terrio right here on Nintendo World Report TV. Of course, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, maybe give it a like or leave a comment, and hey, share it with a friend. For For a whole lot more, you can head over to NintendoWorldReport.com. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can follow me on Twitter using the handle on screen. And if you want to chat with the NWR community in general, there's a link to our Discord in the description. This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.